Okay, here we are for our third and final game, and we've won the die roll, so we would like to play first. This hand is fine. Could use some more lands, but we're not going to mulligan. Looking forward to seeing what we're up against here. Again, against my good friend Nick Watson, who has so far beaten me twice. So we'll see if we can do a little bit better this time. Okay, Swamp Thoughts is looks like Mono Black or Esper. Given that he's told me that he won't play Oars of Control twice, or any matchup twice, that's what we can assume that it is, but it could equally be a couple of the aggro decks. Okay, so he's taking the Ash Zealot, which is fine with us. We're just going to play out the Bone Tree Emissary here, it's fine. We just play it as a 2-2 for 2, Tidebinder Mage-esque badness going on there, but look, on curve it's not too bad. It represents a bit of a clock. Getting some damage in early is never a bad thing. It's worth mentioning that Temple there isn't a terrible idea. Um, Instead of playing the Emissary just to avoid Pack Rat, but I feel like if that was the case, he would have just taken the Chain of the Rocks on the first turn. But who knows, he might have it. Fnatic Mogus. Let's have a look at the top. Ash Zealot. I'm actually going to put this on the bottom. I feel like we would prefer to hit a land or a removal spell. Okay, so Mizzy Mortars, that's pretty good. I'm assuming the Bone Tree Emissary will die here, but maybe not. Yeah, it's been good value. It's gotten 6 damage already. Hasn't done a whole lot else, but it is what it is. Okay, Desecration Demon is a fairly hard roadblock. Gilgates, awkward as always. I do feel like you need these extra white sources though, so while I might complain about it, it's not something I'm willing to change right now. That could be the argument for more basic planes, but you know, you've got so many double red 2 drops that they become pretty much blank for casting them, and you've already got the 4 Nykthos, so it's I think it's better to have tap lands than it is to do that, but the argument could be made the other way. Double Demon. Come on, buddy. Okay. So what we're going to do here is we're going to get hit for a lot of damage down to 2, I think. Play the Fnatic, get him to 9, which would mean that without answers, he's actually just straight dead to a Storm Breath next turn. And then we get to tap both these guys if he's not, and then Storm Breath in the turn after as well. So we're racing here because we don't have the removal. Double Desecration Demon is quite difficult for this deck to beat in some ways. Depending on how much you curve out, like a lot of the time, if you actually curve out, like there's just no hope of ever catching you. So it's not an issue. We haven't seen much of it this testing session, which I suppose is good because this is a more realistic view of what the deck does. You always want to see the deck when it's not doing anything great. You know, it's just so you have accurate expectations going into events. And whilst this has been like a downturn in, you know, performance, it's not been so far removed that it's actually unlucky. So, yeah, not too upset about the whole thing, despite the fact that it does suck to lose. We would like to see a change of the rocks off the top. That'd be great. I don't think we will. There's only 3 left in the deck at this point, so the odds are fairly slim, but you know they're in there. This is obviously a little suspicious for me, allowing him to straight up take me to 2. I'm obviously dead to land Grey Merchant, but I think that was the case anyway. Um, Only attacking with 1. Another Desecration Demon. Okay. Alright. Well, I think we're just dead. Jeez, got triple Storm Breath and it still wasn't enough. Okay, so what are ways that we can get out of this? I probably should have bottomed that Storm Breath actually, but I mean, I'm not sure that's a thing that we can do. We're gonna have to sack 2 of our guys, but what those guys are doesn't really matter. And we're gonna do it next turn, obviously, not now. I definitely should have bottomed that Storm Breath, by the way. That's a bad play. You don't want to be making decisions based on the assumption that you've already lost. Um, there are ways out sometimes. So what we can do here is we can tap one of them with the Burning Tree Emissary, and then allow him to attack with the other 2. It depends if he chooses to tap all his creatures or not. He may not choose to do that, in which case we can just take the damage and resolve another Storm Breath next turn. If he does attack, we can just block with the Storm Breath. So yes, I want to tap what turns out to be the middle one. No, I don't want to tap the others. And the assumption here is that he doesn't have removal because I'm just dead to that. So many things that I'm just dead to that it's you know almost fairly intellectual playing out the game, but it's really no excuse for making loose plays like not bottoming that Storm Breath. Okay, so he wants to attack with both. So yeah, he gets to kill the dragon. Why wouldn't you? Okay, so we're just dead. Fair enough. So mono black control. We want this Wear Tear. We want this Chain of the Rocks. These Mizzy Mortars aren't quite as good because there's no Blood Barons to kill. You can still kill Grey Merchant with it, for instance, and it still kills Pack Rat. But I think that we're happier to go with the Hammer for the longer games here, in the same spot. The Boros Charms aren't great, so what we're going to do is go fast by mana cost. What do we want to take out? Burning Tree is, it's good on turn 2, but assumption is that they do stabilize. Okay, so we were card up because we put in this as an extra card. Look, I'm not actually sure we even want. It's weird because we don't want them to have the card for Underworld Connections, but them doing that damage to themselves is not necessarily bad for us. They're sort of in a very dangerous position if they draw too many cards off it. So I'm sure we can sort of avoid doing that. We'll keep the hammers to further pressure their life total. We don't want to mold this. You do not want to pay 2 life. What you got? No turn 1 Thoughtseize, which is always nice. No rat. Land there would have been nice. We need lands. Which is one of the reasons this runs so many. 25 is quite a lot. But, you really don't want to miss. Missing here is pretty bad. So flooding's bad, missing's bad. Definitely an issue. Okay, he quite possibly should have done that earlier, given that I was always going to be able to sacrifice the Frostburn Weird and it would have prevented one damage. There's not that many removal spells to actually kill these guys, so like Ultimate Price won't get it. Doomblade does, but that's sort of out of favor right now. You'll see like maybe one or two copies floating around people's deck lists, but yeah, it doesn't appear in great numbers. Hey, land, yay. Alright, so we're gonna kill the pack rat. Concept I'm sure everyone is quite familiar with. So we're gonna attack him with the Frostburn. Push through for that extra point of damage. Ship the turn. No action, so he's missed a land drop. Undoubtedly has removal, but this is pretty good for us. We're not gonna tap mana on the Frostburn, let him time walk us. We're gonna play threats. Yeah, so whilst our lands aren't cooperating, we operate much better on 3 mana than he does. My friend, Desecration Demon. um, do not want to sacrifice a creature. All the Boros Reckoners. Okay, we're going to attack in with the Reckoner we have. Very happily just trade with this demon here. And if not, damage. So I can definitely see a situation where this is just going to be lethal. This Fanatic. We haven't seen much of him today, but this card's often quite good. One of the big draws of the deck. It's obviously no Master of Waves, but it does get the job done. Very, very good at removing Planeswalkers as well, especially with blockers. Like, it kills Elspeth a lot of the time. Grey Merchant, the old Drainaroo, which is fine. The move away from this card has been quite interesting. It's a powerful effect, um, but 5 mana is just a little bit too much when people are prepared for it. It seems, at least. But the life gain is not irrelevant, and I feel like it's something that a lot of those decks are missing. I'm gonna play the Temple here, Sacred Foundry. Okay, so that will allow us to play our Stormbreath Dragon versus possibly drawing a spell. I think we want this land. I think it'd be greedy not to take it, so we're going to. Okay, so what we're going to do here is we're going to attack with everything. No, I don't want to sacrifice a creature. Alright, 7 damage later. It's quite possible that he has another Grey Merchant here. It's not quite lethal, so we're not actually going to bother tapping the demon right now because we're going to get such good value off this Fanatic. As for things that would convince me to tap the demon, I believe Whiff of Erebos would. I'm not sure how many main decks that's floating in anymore, but it is a thing. No. No, thank you. Worth noting that he does have a Mutavault as a blocker, but with this many Boros Reckoners, it's doing at least 2 damage each. Yeah, he's got the last Grey Merchant. Okay, that's fine. We're not too worried about that. Um, so what sort of situation we're in as far as damage is concerned? We have 11 devotion on board, kind of sweet. Nixos here would have been fantastic, but we opted to keep the Foundry. Um, so these are going to be at least theoretically speaking, 2 damage, 2 damage, 3 damage. So 7, 8 damage is probably the minimum he takes, and because the Fnatic is getting in for 12 or something, that's just going to be lethal. So we're going to run it out and attack with the team. I wonder if he realizes he's super, super dead. I would think so. Cool. Um, yeah, that's one of the things about that mono black devotion deck is that the Grey Merchants are like 4 to 6 life in a drain is quite a lot, but with the amount that people are going over the top of that with the other devotion decks and the amount of removal that all the other decks are playing that make that only a drain for 2 are making the Grey Merchants a worse and worse idea. Like you will like the Underworld connections, for example, without the Grey Merchants in the control matchups, and it's only really good against the aggressive decks, in which case Blood Baron's good as well. So it's not that it's a worse choice, and I definitely don't think that it is. I just think that there's very good reasons out of favor, and mainly from a card quality point of view, it will probably continue not to get played quite as much as it was at the start of the format. I could see Deckless running, like a couple or have them in the sideboard just to gain some life back against some burn decks or some decks with like some aggro creatures and some reach. It's a good position for that to be in because you don't actually have to do combat damage with it to gain the life back. Um, but aside from that, I think there are better choices, and that's not a really big part of the metagame right now. So interestingly, you took the Ash Zealot there. Um, Obviously, a little bit worried about an aggressive start from me. Um, I could play this Temple now, but he doesn't know about it, and B, um, I have to play 2 tapped land at some point, and I don't mind drawing an extra land or whatever. So this is actually going to gain me nothing playing it now, whereas playing it on maybe turn 4 or turn 3 even could be a bit better for me. Okay, so we're under the assumption that we're going to get Devour Flesh or something like that. Um, I'm not overly concerned about it. Like, you'll trade this Ash Salad in for a removal spell in a heartbeat, given the choice. So sort of works out to be a bit of a duress with haste some of the time because I just can't keep up with that much damage that early, and the risk of me casting Fnatic and just burning them out is great enough that it's something that most players will actively avoid. We definitely don't want that land, and it was a really good time for us to play that temple. Frostburns are pretty great creatures in general because they gain you a lot of life when you get Devour Flashed early, and once they're out of removal spells, it's actually 4 damage a turn, which is not insignificant. Um, so yeah, definitely a card that I'm warming up to in this deck, and it's not that it's not played in other decks. It's just that it's quite well positioned against the mono black decks, given everything else that you're doing here. Get Doomblade now after I've committed a bit of mana to it, which is fine. We don't lose anything from that, but it's better for him to do it that way, and it makes sense. That's why you don't. want to overcommit to them until you have run them out of removal, or are fairly sure that they're out. Possibly going to see a demon this turn from him, which is fine. We'll just run Storm Breath out and not attack with it. Okay, so that more just gives us an out to any follow-up pack rats or anything like that. I would not hate to draw Nykthos at some point. Allow us to ultimate I say, but to monstrosity these Stormbreath dragons. Make them go over 9,000. Okay, so he's got quite a lot of land. Ultimate price, sure. He can just block the Frostburn with his Midvault here, but if I draw an extra land, that's not going to be a thing. Okay, so we didn't do that, but we did draw a Reckoner. One card in hand. It's probably a removal spell. Do I want to run the Storm Breath out? Don't think I have that much of a choice. I can get through with this for a bit more damage this turn if I don't. 3 damage or so, and play a Reckoner. So I guess the question is 3 damage plus a Boros Reckoner better than a Storm Breath? We don't know. He's only got one card left in hand. We don't know what it is. Could obviously be a removal, but he hasn't missed a land drop either, so it could definitely be a land. I think it's unlikely to be another Desecration Demon or a Grey Merchant, so it's definitely not a pack rat, because I think we would have seen that much earlier. Yeah, no, I think I will run out the Boros Reckoner. No, I don't want to sacrifice. Boros Reckoner, it's pretty much unblockable here, which is nice. Have to keep this Mutavault in mind. He actually does have Lethal on the table. Put on the bottom. Okay. We're probably just going to attack the team and sacrifice Frostburn Weed during his turn. Okay, so that's one of the blanks that was in his hand. We don't know if he drew it this turn or not. I would presume not. I can't imagine him have anything but 2 lands in his hand prior to this turn. There's really no reason for him to play him out when he has this much mana and he's drawing cards turn to turn. Makes potential pack rats worse as well to play them because you don't get to have as much fuel. Yes, I would like to sacrifice a creature. Merchant? Yeah, okay. Okay, that would have been lots of fun, but not going to be lethal anymore. Um, hmm. So what's going to happen next turn is that he's going to be able to. So I don't think he's got anything in hand. Is basically what this comes down to. So let's imagine that his cards are blank, but he has something on top of his deck. We don't know what that is. So I want to attack him with the Storm Breath, obviously. He's on quite a lot of life now. We can Monstrosity this, um, which would do 8 damage to him, take him down to 5. But in that case, I'm just dead to the Grey Merchant and the Mutavault after tapping the Desecration Demon with the Boros Reckoner. The other option, of course, is to attack with both of these. See if he blocks with the Grey Merchant, which will allow us to redirect back onto the Grey Merchant and kill it without spending this Mizzium Mortars, which I think I'm going to do. But if he doesn't actually block, we're going to have to redirect anyway. Sorry, we're going to have to Mortars anyway. Don't want to sacrifice a creature quite yet. Wait till next turn. So 6 damage here is lethal off the Storm Breath if he draws nothing. So on the following turn. Actually, that's worth considering. Is it worth just... Yeah. May have been strictly better just to kill the Grey Merchant pre-combat. Hard to know. Yeah, I stuffed up. Okay, I stuffed this up. Sorry, guys. I have thrown this away. If you realize that you can activate Mutavault, double block the Boros Reckoner, and then, I'm just... Oh, no, that's actually not lethal either, because they're not going to miss him more as the Desecration Demon and kill the Mutavault. But it seems that's the line he's going for. I'd have to have Mizzium Mortars in my hand for this to be bad for him, which I do, so he's going to block with both. Damage first to the Mutavault, but it doesn't really matter because I can just overload this and kill his entire team. So, okay. And the other option would be that we first strike this guy down and don't actually take 4 damage on the Reckoner, but I do want to get rid of the demons, so we want it to take 4 damage rather than 2. Yeah. Okay, cast with Overload. Sweet. Okay, Storm Breath on an empty board. Has another Mutavault, which would have come off the top. Do I care about playing that? So if I play this, I get in for 5 because I can activate the +1/+0 ability. Yeah, it's the same clock, so we're just going to do that. Seems better. Okay, we got there. Obviously another close one. Sorry, he's showing us his hand. Swamp. Yeah, that's what we thought. Drew a bunch of blanks on both sides there, and we just sort of top decked out. So he ended up with, including the extra Mutavault that did die, he had 10 lands to our 7. So obviously in our favour there. But yeah, that's sort of the way you beat it. Like, it's got a lot of blanks in the deck, and you just need to trade 1 for 1 and get there. So yeah, that was the mono red deck, which I'll just bring up here so you can have a look. But it's a pretty sweet deck, I think, at least. That was a bad session with it. We'll put it that way. It's up and down. It's I feel really undervalued in the metagame. It does some powerful things, especially when it curves out, that you can't really stop. It's got a really excellent aggro matchup. I almost don't even bother testing it against the aggro decks, and well, I play against them in queues sometimes, but um, I don't think I've ever lost to any of the aggro decks. This is so powerful there. Being able to play these guys, all as roadblocks. Ash Zealot's amazing. Frostburn Wid's amazing. The mana efficiency on Burning Tree Emissary plus Museum Mortars is really great. You're playing main deck Reckoner. I don't know what more you could want, but it's so good there that it's a little silly. Against the Soul decks, I feel like it's almost favorable again. I think, well, actually, do think it is favorable against the Mono Black Devotion decks. I would like to find something in these slots that isn't Burning Earth. Um, like I don't know, I think another Chandra wouldn't go astray. But anyway, something I can bring in against the Mono Black or um, Black control decks that can pressure them and is a hard to deal with permanent, like a Planeswalker, or a more threatening enchantment like the Assembles are. Um, yeah, so you're worried about the control matchups more than anything, but I think it's worth having a go. The deck list isn't quite as refined as it should be, and I think it will change when Born of the God comes out and we get the black red Skyland. So with that, I think you can probably push this um, a little bit further with access to non-Chain of the Rocks removal, um, as well as extra Planeswalker removal for stuff like Dreadbore or stuff like that. Anyway, thanks for watching, and yeah, we'll see you later. Bye.